bienvenida a Galería Phuyu, esta es la muestra Entre lazos de sangre y muros que arden de la artista neoyorquina Marina Berio, que está aquí con nosotros. Considero que una galería de arte contemporáneo, justamente para hacer valer el término contemporáneo en su nombre, debe de intentar siempre sorprender al visitante. Considero que la obra de Marina logra eso, ¿no? Logra generar una experiencia con lo inesperado. No esperas encontrar una galería con las paredes quemadas, no esperas encontrar obra impresa con sangre extraída de la propia artista. Y eso creo es el valor atractivo que tiene la obra y la razón por la cual me parecía que era muy interesante y muy valioso.
This body of work is called The Space in the Mind and the Body in the Space because I was thinking about how my body, when I'm in the studio, relates to the mental process of creativity and also how I relate to what's outside of the space. So when I'm in the studio, I'm thinking about family, I'm thinking about relationships, I'm thinking about the work of other artists. And so I was trying to bring all these different realities onto the studio walls so they could be in relationship with each other. And this picture is an important one because it sort of serves as a key to the project itself. And in fact, this is something that I made when I myself was trying to understand this project. The more I made, the more pictures I made, the more elements I brought together, I was literally getting confused. Like, what is this project about? It's about everything, but it's just about the walls. What is it about, really? And so at a certain point, I felt the need to map the project for myself. These two pictures opposite the animation because they're also both about looking inwards and the relationship to the body, and they both have this element of black, which recurs through the series. This way of saying there's something you can't quite see, you can't necessarily understand, but you look inside. So my brain after the stroke, this is actually the clot. This is what caused my stroke. This was 1 year later, so the clot is still there. It's actually still deal with some symptoms from my stroke. But again, this work has often been for me about looking inside, not always understanding, trying to map something that I don't fully understand by looking at all the different ways I can sort of access it. The inside of my body is something I can't access except through medical imagery. It's something I can try to understand and live with, but actually, it's all fragments, right? Like having an MRI of my brain doesn't obviously say anything about what I'm thinking about, right? Or what experience I'm having of my own body. So similarly, this one, it's sort of like a masturbation drawing, but it's also, again, about like what's inside, what can I access when what can I not access? You can sort of have a relationship with your own body that only goes so far, but there might always be elements that you don't fully understand. So I've mostly been a black and white artist and photographer. For many years, I made only black and white work. At a certain point, I started to sort of crave color. I was missing it. I wanted to do something with color. And my first thought was color photography. Like, what's my first step into color photography? And I was thinking about family photography and how that's the color pictures that we all have, we all use, everyone universally has a relationship with. At the same time, I've always been interested in the material investigations of the medium of photography. And so I came up with this idea of using blood as the pigment in the gum bichromate process, which is an old process. Gum bichromate is a process that's been in existence since the 19th century. And this process, the way I use it, is almost the same. So there's technically nothing different, except that I've used my own blood as the pigment to talk about family and relationships, and also to talk about the gender roles and representation in photography. Pretty much since the existence of art in human history, it's the female body that's been represented over and over and over, very often or almost exclusively by male artists. So I wanted to invert that. When I made this project, I was married and we had this little family, 3 people, me and a son and a husband. And so I, as a photographer looking at them, my female body in this case is invisible, right? And I'm the one that's offering the work, and I also authored the family. I made the family out of my own body. And so this project really ties those themes together in a very visceral way. But it's also born of my observation of their relationship. So my son and his father having this like eternal Oedipal struggle where at the beginning of the project, when my son was just 8 years old, they would just like start, hitting each other and pummeling each other, and it was a dynamic that I didn't have with my son. I was like, why are you doing that? Why do you have to hit each other? And when he was younger, it would always end in my son crying. He would always like try to fight his father, and then he would fail, and then he would realize that he's, weaker, and so it's an interesting dynamic. This picture in particular, the one that Prestigiosa chose for the invitation, yes, I find is really like, in a way, the most crystal clear embodiment of this idea of the son burying the father. This one also has a similar dynamic where the son, is on top. This is my son's favorite picture. I gave him a print and I asked him, which picture would you like? I asked him, what picture do you want to have for yourself if you have a print from the series? And he said, I want one where I'm winning. But in the series, you have also pictures where his father is winning, and it's the stronger one. And then there's a picture here where they're sort of more equal. So it was important to me in this series to show both of them having moments on top, moments on the bottom.